Hello everyone, welcome. We are continuing our wonderful deep dive and overall review of this beautiful compilation of American Indian myths and legends. Lame Deer has been my favorite contributor to the collection thus far. Let me know if you have a favorite one. We were dealing with a story from the Brule Sioux tribe titled Two Ghostly Lovers. And remember, in part 85 and 86, we went into different tribal interpretations of the spirit world. Okay? According to them. Long ago, there lived a young, good-looking man whom no woman could resist. He was an elk charmer, a man who had elk medicine. So an elk charmer. Now think about that. An elk is a pretty, reluctant creature to come around with humans. Dart up into the mountains. So if he's an elk charmer, no doubt, who could resist someone who has the ability to tame an elk? Get it? A man who had elk medicine, which carries love power. When this man played the Siyotanka. Okay, so this looks cool. Siyotanka. Very cool. The flute. Okay, so a flute in the language he is using here, Siyotanka. That's what it means. It produced a magic sound. At night, a girl hearing it would just get up and go to him, forsaking her father and mother, her own lover or husband. Well, that's a scary tool. Maybe her mind told her to stay, but her heart was already beating faster and her feet were running. Almost like a piper type of energy here. Like an evil musician who is like playing as this like instrument and leading all the damsels out. Yet the young man, the elk charmer himself, was a lover with a stone heart. Ooh, okay, so he's a charmer, but he's got a stone heart. He wanted only to conquer women, the way a warrior conquers an enemy. Whew. After they came to him once, he had no more use for them. Oh, so he's a playboy. He's a Western playboy. So in spite of his wonderful powers, he did not act as a young man should and was not well liked. Aha! So by that, we can see that the Brule Sioux tribe contends young men should not just use women just for booty. They should actually desire something more. One day when the elk charmer went out to hunt buffalo, he did not return to the village. His parents waited for him day after day, but he never came back. At last they went to a special kind of medicine man who has finding stones. See, the medicine man here is very universal in a lot of people's understanding of Native American culture. They were like the first doctors. To be honest, I really wish those types of people still existed who knew Ubro medicine, but now Facebook and YouTube and many other companies call it fake news if you start doing herbal remedies. I understand there's a lot of people who make up non-scientific claims and try to peddle that as miracle cures, which is wrong. Snake oil salesmen and such, you get it, sophists. But I'm talking about real medicine men. China still has them, but in America we have definitely lost that. But dang, even here they mentioned a more special kind of medicine man. So medicine men were already unique, and then here in the Native American culture, in this particular Brule Sioux tribe, we have an even more niche medicine man, so that should be noted, who has finding stones that give him the power to locate lost things and lost people. So today you'd be like, find my cell phone, find my car keys. After this holy man had used his finding stones, he told the parents, I have sad news for you. Your son is dead, and not from sickness or an accident. He was killed. He is lying out there on the prairie. The medicine man described the spot where they would find the body. It was as he had said. Out on the prairie their son was lying dead, stabbed through the heart. Oh, Madonna. Look at that. So he was a player with a hard heart, treated the ladies like they were disposable. And his death, what was it in this story? A dagger in the heart. Very symbolic, right? Whether see, his heart was not exactly a stone. You get it? You get it? Whether he had been killed by an enemy warrior or wronged husband from his own tribe, or even a discarded, thrown away girl, No one ever knew. So notice this. You're a player. You take in other men's wives. They're going to come for you too. Wow. And the women, they're going to come for you too. The fathers, they should come for you too. So you can have fun with your lust, but the player does get played as a pawn in the end. Checkmate. His parents dressed him in his finest war shirt, which he had loved more than all his women. Notice this. His finest war shirt is more dear to him than the women. One could argue cars, right, being more valuable to a person than their girlfriend. I once dated somebody who I really believed that his car, his BMW, was more important to me. So this type of analogy here of a fine war shirt, because the war shirt denotes status. Car denotes status today, right? So the status symbol being more revered than the partner with whom you've shared a bed. Think about that. And then the dead man's moccasins, whose soles are beaded with the spirit land designs. So the moccasins having spirit land designs. I really like moccasins. I have handmade moccasins. Where are they? Oh, I think it's in the other room. They don't have beads, but I wanted one with beads. Mine were handmade with sheepskin. I really like moccasins. They put his body up on the funeral scaffold, and then the tribe left that part of the country, for it was a very bad thing, this killing which was probably within the tribe. Aha, so the families are leaving. Now, I've had it told to me by a person whom I trust that within their rural village in Mexico, if you did something really bad in the village to someone else's daughter or something, sometimes the village would ask you to leave, to relocate. If only we did that. We should do that more often. But again, people say, no prisons, abolish the police. They say a lot of dumb things, while the ghettos they don't have to live in get worse and worse. We should do some type of form of exile, sort of kind of like what Draco did. It was in fact the very worst thing that could happen, even though everybody was thinking that the young man had brought it on himself. He probably did. One evening, many days right away, when the people had already forgotten this sad happening and were feasting in their teepees, all the dogs in the camp started howling. Then the coyotes in the hills took up their mournful cry. So the dogs are howling and the coyotes join in, so something creepy is going on. Nobody could discover the reason for all this howling and yipping, but when it finally stopped, the people could hear the hooting of many owls. Ooh, that freaked me out. When an owl was talking, ooh. Speaking of death and ghostly things, the laughter in the camp stopped, the fires were put out, and the entry flaps to the teepees were closed. People tried to sleep, but instead they found themselves listening. They knew a spirit was coming. Now this is interesting. So, animal calls being a sign that a spirit is coming, people attribute a lot of that to the owls and crows. Ravens and such. Shakespeare had that with Macbeth. This is something throughout many cultures. The harbingers of death being announced by an animal, right? Here, in the Brule Sioux tribe, in this story of the two ghostly lovers, that theme is continuing, with a sort of animal being a sort of harbinger, messenger, notificationer. Finally, they heard the unearthly sounds of a ghost flute. The unearthly sounds of a ghost flute. Talk about creepy. A ghost flute, family. And a voice they knew very well. The voice of the dead young man with the elk medicine. They heard this voice singing, this is his song. Weeping I roam. I thought I was the only one who had known many loves, many girls, many women, too many of them. Now I am having a hard time. I am roaming, and I have to keep on roaming as long as the world stands. Because he never settled down with just one, maybe? Because he's a player, jump into the next game, jump into the next arena, hoppity, 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 right? Breaking those hearts. Whew. And now he has to roam. That is very sad. After that night, the people heard the song many times. The lone girl coming home late from a dance, a young woman up before sunrise to get water from the stream, would hear the ghostly song mixed with the sound of the flute. Oh, so this flute, and then he's like, doo doo doo, and like people can hear it. they would see the shape of a man wrapped in a great blanket hovering above the ground. For even as ghost, this young man would not leave the girls alone. Ah, even in his death, he's still roaming, right? Weeping I roam. Too many of them, though, he said. Too many women. Think about that. This warrior, who was strong, he has an elk charmer, right? He's playing his siotanka, has this elk medicine, is telling in his death song, too many women and weeping he roams. Kind of tells you a lot. Well, it happened long ago, but even now the old timers at Rosebud, Pine Ridge, and Cheyenne River are still singing this ghost song. Now there was another young man who also had a cold heart. He too made love to many girls and soon threw them away. He was a brave warrior, though. He was out a few times with a girl who was in love with him, and he said he would marry her, but he didn't really mean it. He was like many other men who make the same promise only to get under a girl's blanket. One day he said, "I have to go on a horse-stealing raid. I'll be back soon, and then I'll marry you." She told him, "I'll wait for you forever." Oh, don't say that. The young warrior went off and never came back. Ah, see that? Even worse heartbreaker, left her waiting. She said, "I'll wait for you forever." And he is like, "Okay, let's test that." Very sad. Very sad. There's still more to the story, but we'll read it in the next part because the video is 11 minutes long.